Hello, my name is Spencer Paternoster, and this is my presentation on top-down versus bottom-up processing. So to begin, I'll discuss bottom-up processing. So bottom-up processing was original theory on how people perceive stimuli in psychology. It existed for a while until the Gestalts came along and proposed top-down processing. But basically what bottom-up processing is that a human perceives a stimuli and then makes mental images or maps or just mental schemas based off that stimuli to interpret the world around them. So top-down processing, like I said earlier, was proposed by the Gestalts. It was a new way of thinking. So instead of people perceiving stimuli first and then interpreting their world, the Gestalts proposed that top-down processing was that people had mental schemas, and as they perceived new stimuli, the mental schemas helped map out and helped explain the new stimuli. So in top-down processing, the whole is more important than the parts. And so basically the difference between bottom-up processing and top-down processing is that bottom-up processing acts as a blank canvas, and the world is interpreted as the person receives new stimuli. And then top-down processing acts from previous schemas and mental images the person has had before to help interpret new stimuli. Next, I wanted to talk about applications that top-down and bottom-up processing have in psychology. So the first has to do with autism. So Ursino et al. Wrote a paper a few years ago analyzing brain connectivity in people with autism. Ursino et al. Took a group of participants and had them test their ASD. The participants were then split into two groups, one that had higher ASD scores and the other that had lower ASD scores. Then an EEG was used to measure brain activity during the tests. Results showed that people with autism use bottom-up processing rather than top-down processing, which might explain their neurodivergence and how they differ from atypical or typical people. Next, I wanted to talk about the Stroop effect. The Stroop effect was discovered by John Stroop. He conducted an experiment where he gave participants three types of stimuli. So one was congruent, one was neutral, and one was incongruent. So the congruent stimuli was a color spelled out. And in addition to that, it was written in the ink of the same color. So if it was blue, the ink was blue. Incongruent was the opposite of that. So basically a color was written out and then a different color was used to write the ink. So if it was red, if the word was red, then the ink would be blue or yellow or a different color. And then the neutral stimuli was just a word paired with a type of color. And so the Stroop effect found that for the incongruent stimuli, when the word and the color did not match, people made more mistakes, and it took them more time to comprehend the stimuli. And so this basically uses top-down processing to explain the Stroop effect, because the color of the ink did not match the color of the word. It took more people time to process it, and they made more mistakes than with the congruent stimuli. Finally, I wanted to address a mental schema. So mental schema is an important concept that's used in a wide variety of psychology today. So mental schemas are patterns of thoughts that help to describe new stimuli and how the brain organizes it. Mental schemas help categorize stimuli in a person's brain, and as new stimuli is presented, the brain organizes the stimuli with the help of the mental schema. So this is basically the definition of top-down processing. So mental schema is a thing that helps people have an idea or a mental image that helps describe the new stimuli and helps categorize it in their brain. And this is my works cited. Thank you.